Good. Town manager? Good. Okay. Good evening. I call this October 28th, 2025 meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. Thank you to those who are here in person with us tonight, those watching via live stream, and those who are watching the recording of this meeting. Our town mission statement, which helps guide our decisions tonight and into the future, I like that, it's on the screen, connecting our diverse community to an enhanced quality of life through innovative programs and services. Officer Davis is our Sergeant-at-Arms for this evening's meeting. We thank you for your attendance. This evening, Councilmember Rao will be leading our invocation. Councilmember Rao.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor, Council. I ask that we bow our heads and I deliver this invocation called The Light We Leave Behind in honor of Diwali. As we gather here tonight, we do so in a spirit of reflection and gratitude, inspired by the festival of Diwali, the festival of lights. Across the world, Diwali reminds us that even the smallest flame can push back the deepest darkness. It is a celebration of hope, renewal, and the triumph of light over despair. Tonight, let us carry that same spirit into our community. May we each be reminded that light is not only something we see, it is something we create. Through our acts of kindness, our commitment to service, and our willingness to listen, we become the lamps that brighten the lives of others. Let the light we leave behind be one of understanding, compassion, and courage. May it guide those who follow us, just as the lamps of those before us light our way today. As we deliberate, decide, and dream together this evening, may our words and actions reflect the Diwali message, that goodness endures, that unity uplifts, and that together we can illuminate even the darkest corners of our world. We pray for any soldier defending the freedom of our nation, and we wish everyone a happy Diwali and unity in a world that needs prayers. Thank you, and I'm out.
At this time, all that were able, please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt tonight's agenda, Town Council policy is to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. Would anyone like to share anything at this time? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion and a second to adopt this evening's regular agenda?
I move that we adopt this evening's agenda.
I'll second.
A motion from Councilmember Rao and a second from Councilmember Johnson. All those in favor of adopting this evening's regular agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously, 7-0. There are 3 items on this evening's consent agenda: September Town Council meeting minutes approval, FY 2026 second quarter budget ordinance amendment, and plat review officer appointments. Would any council member like to take any of those and have discussion before we adopt? Okay. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Abadi, a second from Councilmember Johnson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously, 7-0 also. We're now at proclamations. We recognize Diwali and acknowledge that a proclamation was read during the town's Diwali celebration on October 25th. Happy Diwali to all. Next on the agenda is Morrisville Speaks, public comment. Town Clerk Bertling, is there anyone signed up?
There is no one signed up.
Okay, did we have any online comments this time?
No online comments either.
Okay. At this time, we welcome anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this body for up to 3 minutes on any subject of their choosing. Would anyone like to take advantage of that opportunity? Okay. Moving on. As a reminder, we encourage the submission of written comments as they offer a valuable way for community members to share their feedback. To submit written comments, please email publicinput@morrisvillenc.gov. We have 2 presentations tonight. We now invite Erin Hudson, Communications and Outreach Manager, to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Happy to be here with you all this evening and celebrate our most recent class of Teen Morrisville 101 graduates. This year, we tried to do something a little bit different to engage our teen residents, And we asked them to work alongside our presenting departments to design their perfect park project. I dare you to say that 3 times fast. So they were given a spec sheet with an assigned budget. They were given some assumptions. They were also given some limitations. They each had a grid outlining the project space they could work within, and then they had an amenity sheet. So they knew that if they wanted to design a park with a certain number of square feet of racquetball space or baseball fields or art projects or murals or landscaping, they knew what they had to include for sizing, and then they knew exactly how much that would cost as well. The costs were based on comparable size of parks in the area, so they had $750,000 to work with. And they found out pretty quickly that that money moves fast. So they also learned that not everybody was going to get what they wanted in a park. Some of them wanted a skate park. Some of them wanted more greenways and sidewalks. Lots of different designs ended up being shared, and what we encouraged them to think about was this is the process that staff has to go through for major projects here in the town. So we all work collaboratively with contractors, with other departments, using guidance and direction from town council and from senior leadership. We may not always get what we specifically would want in an end resulting project, but we also look at what's best for the community. And so while each of them may not have gotten exactly what they wanted in their final project, we encourage them to use their thoughts and considerations of what their families may want, what may fit best in their neighborhood, and then design from that aspect. So lots of good engagement, lots of good conversation, lots of good questions. So we really appreciated their effort and them spending their afternoons with us. So we are going to call them up. If everyone who participated in Teen 101 who's here with us wouldn't mind coming and lining up over here to my right. Go ahead, stand up, come over here and line up. We have certificates for everyone, and we also have t-shirts commemorating your participation. So when I call your name, we'll hand out your certificate and your t-shirt, and then we'll ask you to come and take a spot on our stage up here in the front, and then we'll grab a photo just before everyone leaves. First, I have Mahidar Anumala. Thank you very much. And please excuse me if I mispronounce anyone's name. Next, we have Arsima Ayalu. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Natisha Bata. Michelle Botlero. Annabelle D'Souza. Unati Gupta. Okay. Arshita Maharajan. Satakshi Mishra. Parvati Perumyali Subhash. Diyamika Subramani. And if you all will hold your spot for just a moment, we'd love to have council join you and take a quick photo.
If you guys all step down one step, we'll be right behind you. That might work well. Y'all can get towards the middle, so we'll look at the cameras if you want. It's fine. Okay, whose mom is this? Congratulations, everyone.
Forgive me, I totally forgot that I had prepared photos showing you the group in action. So we do have some photos just showing you them presenting their final park projects and sharing with us why they chose what they chose for design. And if you look at the photos here over the next few slides, you'll see they all came up with something very different, which I thought was interesting. And then as they, again, continue to explain how they deliberated amongst themselves and why they chose what they chose, just thought it was really interesting. And then as we challenged them as sort of a mock council that they would present to and asked, how will public safety vehicles access that? How would people access your park or connect from neighboring neighborhoods or turning in from an accessible street? You know, things that they wouldn't necessarily consider. We didn't ask them to consider those, but things that they didn't have to think about. They just wanted to design the park that best met their needs, as we had asked them to do. So again, really good participation, really good conversation. Really appreciate them and appreciate all of the departments and the staff that participated as well.
So quick question, were there groups of 2 or 3, or everyone did their own singular project?
No, we broke them into small groups. Some of them were 3, some of them were 4.
Okay, that's very neat. And where did Teen 101 come from? I know we used to do Morrisville 101. How long have you guys been doing the Teen one?
So Teen 101 has been in place for several years. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. And I can't say if that was a directive of council or of a prior leadership. But I know that really from the start, it was a little bit of a push to get teens and youth engaged. And more recently, there has been a lot of interest, which we're really pleased with. We continue to try to bring them engaging content and programming. And again, we just really appreciate them spending time with us
Yeah.
and wanting to learn about local government.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, please.
I was looking for my thing, it was right up here, sorry, TJ. Just so you know, the Teen 101 has been around about 10 years. My son Sterling was in the very first class of Teen 101, so we're very proud of that. And my daughter attended the adult one when she was a teenager. So it's a wonderful program. I'm so proud of everyone that participated. I really am excited to learn more, if we can, about the park suggestions and some of the lessons learned when you're ready. Thank
Sure.
you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Lots of kudos to all the staff for creating this opportunity. Please tell your friends to encourage them to join us next time as well. Thank you all very much. If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and sneak something back in. We're going to go back to public address real quick. It's my understanding there is someone in the audience who would like to speak to the group for up to 3 minutes on a subject. If that person would like to come up, announce their name and their address, residential address for the record, we'd be happy to hear you now. Okay. And then after you speak, if you could go to the town clerk and just record your name and your address there as well, we'd really appreciate it. So you'll have 3 minutes to speak on any subject that you like.
Okay.
Please address the council as a whole.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to come and speak. So my name is Evelyn Ponce, and my address is 107 Bell Tower Way in Morrisville. And I just wanted to speak some on some thoughts that I have about the extension for Airport Boulevard. So I
This is my first time coming up and addressing the council, so I wrote down my thoughts. So my husband and I own a home in the Gables neighborhood, and right now 2 of our kids go to Sterling Montessori, and next year our youngest will go there too. We usually bike or walk to school. We specifically chose this neighborhood, the Town Hall Commons neighborhood, to buy a house because of the option to walk or bike to school. And when we heard about them extending Airport Boulevard, we got pretty worried because we used that route to get to Sterling. From the statistics that I was seeing, about 15,000 kids every year in the U.S. get injured walking outside. And a lot of those happen in school zones and during dismissal and arrival. I really just want to express my deep worry about the town moving forward with the plan to extend Airport Boulevard through there and put this huge road right in the middle of 2 schools. This will bring a lot more traffic, less tree cover in that area, and more noise to the neighborhood and right next to these 2 elementary schools. We also moved to this neighborhood for the great trails that we have really close to us and that we frequently use with our kids. This road would cut right through that really peaceful side of the trail that we use a lot, and that many people I see use that stretch of the trail, which is Indian Creek Trail, I believe, making it a lot more dangerous to use too. So I just want to express my concern about this, and I want to urge the council to halt this project and to explore other options so that we can safely walk to school and not have all the issues that this extension would bring.
You did a great job for your first time. If you could go to the town clerk and just fill in some information, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll ask Ms. Hudson to go ahead and do the next. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ms. Chang, were you interested in speaking as well?
So this is my daughter Avery. She goes to Sterling too, and she just wrote down some thoughts too.
Okay, we can happily entertain her for up to 3 minutes as well. And if there's anyone else who would like to address this body, if you want to go ahead and line up by the wall, so I know, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so this is her first time attending too, so she wants me to read her thoughts for her. So this is Avery Ponce Close, and she lives at 107 Bell Tower Way too. She says, I don't think you should cut down those trees, the Airport Boulevard extension. It is home to other animals, and it is also important for people because the trees make air, and I don't want that big road because I'm going to ride to school a long time.
Thank you, Avery.
Thank you.
One more.
We welcome it.
Okay. I'm Patty Chang from 304 Miller Drive in the Carpenter Park Single Family Homes neighborhood in District 4. I like to talk about how more than 6 years ago, Wake County Public Schools came to Mooresville and asked that the temporary trailers at Cedar Fort Elementary School be allowed to stay for many more years. I mean, at this point, the temporary trailers have been there for 20 years, okay? To me, that demonstrates the incompetence of Wake County school planners or architects that you would have a temporary trailer with poor HVAC unit, no bathrooms, where the second graders have to walk outside to the main building to go use the bathrooms. And trailer number 7 is actually the one that's closest to this North Carolina DOT road, which would, based on the plans that have been published, will bring forth probably 18-wheel tractor trailers right next to the school. There's no information about whether there's going to be any tree buffers or um, you know, any kind of what do you call that, fencing that borders Cedar Fork Elementary School there. I was just amazed that, we have people who move to Mooresville for our top-rated elementary schools here. And, whatever the decisions that were made, Wake Forest doesn't have temporary trailers at their elementary schools, but we have temporary trailers for a school that is enrolled at more than 60 to 70% capacity. And when the Board of Adjustments reviewed that case a number of years ago, their decision was that you may have these temporary trailers for an extra year or two, but you need to come back and prove that the traffic in front of the school will not be impacted. Well, now you've got a line of parents picking up their students at Cedar Fork Elementary twice a day, and they're parked on the right-hand lane of Town Hall Drive. So this is something that, a decision that Mooresville staff and town council agreed to let Wake County Schools do a number of years ago, overruling the decision by the Board of Adjustments. So if you're going to allow the Department of Transportation to put in that 4-lane road, which was sketched in on some plan by our non-resident planner 20 years ago, you need to decide how this issue is going to be solved. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else who wanted to address this body? Okay, thank you all very much for your input. We appreciate it. We will now hear from Ms. Hudson and the communications team.
Okay, thank you again. Long time no see. Just want to take a quick minute to recognize my communications and outreach staff team. Should have done that with the Teen Mooresville 101 graduation. So here beside me, I have Rox Cruz, our public information officer. There in the back, I also have Wendy Liu, our communications and outreach liaison. And I think Laura Goff was not able to be here tonight. She had a home emergency come up, but Laura Goff is our social media coordinator, and Anu Mishra was unable to be here with us tonight, and she is our communications specialist. So I'm very fortunate to work with a very talented staff group. So nothing that I am up here talking about tonight was done in a vacuum, and is very much the reflection of a very talented staff team. So very quickly, just want to give you an outline of what we're wanting to cover with you all tonight, why we needed an update to our site in the first place, what our goals and objectives were, and really just wanting to review with you all the timeline of where we started and where we are now, and what we are planning to accomplish moving forward. So why did we need to redesign our site? What was wrong with it? What were we experiencing? Based on user feedback and our own experiences, we knew that there were a variety of things that we wanted to improve on or could improve on, whether that was search and navigation functions, the overall look and aesthetics, translation of the site from desktop to mobile to a tablet, and also some duplication and outdated information. There were things we just needed an opportunity to be able to right size and correct. So how were we going to address those challenges? Several opportunities were really identified there. We knew that we wanted to be able to have a modernized approach. And with that, we wanted to be able to have a modernized look and feel. This is a really diverse community. We know that there's a lot of diverse backgrounds. There's a lot of innovative thought and a lot of variety of skills and knowledge. And we wanted a website that truly reflected not only our internal workforce, but also our community. We also wanted to have a device agnostic design. So as I mentioned on that previous slide, moving from a desktop to a mobile to a tablet, you didn't necessarily always have the same experience, and we wanted to be able to provide that. We wanted people to be able to have the same form and functionality across all devices. That would give folks an enhanced user experience, a better interface, and just a better overall product for us. Importantly, those two bullets on the right-hand side, we wanted to be able to enhance accessibility for all users. Accessibility doesn't just mean visual or hearing impairment. Sometimes when we hear or read ADA, we think of some type of differently abled individual. We absolutely want folks who have different abilities to be able to access our website the very same as anyone who does not have those different abilities. But we also want individuals who may speak or read another language to have that same opportunity. We want our website to be accessible and inclusive to all. We wanted to be able to provide those same opportunities to everyone. We also wanted to be able to provide those ADA compliant guidelines. We also wanted to be able to provide those web content compliant guidelines. As a government entity and as a government website, we are also responsible for ensuring that we are meeting those thresholds and holding ourselves to that highest standard. So what is it that we were truly looking to accomplish? What questions were we asking ourselves? Were people able to find what they were looking for? If they didn't have prior knowledge or prior understanding of local government, or without some limited guidance, did folks understand what steps they needed to take? Was the language clear? Was the guidance clear? Were they able to accomplish what they needed to once they got to the site? Were they able to do that across any and all devices? And then without asking, were they able to be informed and be engaged? Were they able to get the information they needed without having to go through a lot of different steps? So based on the process that we went through, we were able to have a lot of quantitative information to sort of fall back on. There was a lot of data, there were testing processes, there were surveys. So this wasn't a website redesign that was built based on just creative thoughts and needs. There was a lot of data to really support the process throughout. And then that allowed us to develop those qualitative results and outcomes that give us that enhanced user experience. We knew with certain heat maps, with our community survey, with our user testing, what additional enhancements the community and our users wanted. With our experience workshops, with our wireframe development, we knew that with certain elements in certain places, did that improve the navigation? Did it improve content discoverability? So we were able to sort of check those inferences from data to outcomes. So the way that we were really able to reach these goals and objectives, again, as I mentioned, none of it happened in a vacuum. It was very much a collaborative effort. Our project lead, as I mentioned, was PIO Rox Cruz here on our communications team. A lot of input from town staff, our senior leadership team, our department leaders. Each department also had at least one webmaster. Many of them also had a webmaster backup. So we were really able to work with staff to ensure they had some training and some background to be able to support this effort throughout. We also had a great deal of community feedback. The survey was issued through our vendor, I believe 2 times. So we had that information to refer back to as well. A lot, I don't know how to stress that enough, training. So Rox facilitated through our vendor training over the last several months, and really ensuring that our staff had the right resources, the right information to go to so that they could be educated and sort of help themselves through this process as we move forward. Rox serving as our project lead, communications and outreach serving as a resource, but also ensuring that our department webmasters had the information they needed so they could continue to take some of those steps on their own as well. And then our vendor support. I'm sure Rox would echo my sentiments. Granicus as a vendor has been very supportive of us, providing additional information and collaboration when needed. They led our trainings, answered any and all questions, so we were really fortunate to be able to have them as a partner. So I'm not going to steal Rox's thunder ahead of what I want her to be able to show you, but I just want to talk a little bit about some of the key features that we really love about this redesigned site. When we talk about design and branding, many times we all think about the blue and green logo, and we do all love that logo. But we have actually used a little bit more of a grayscale with the website. We're keeping the logo in and of itself, but grayscaling it, and that is allowing us to have a more clean and modern look. We still have all of our other brand standards apply. That gives us the ability to highlight those unique features of Morrisville. You're going to see some of that as Rox goes through the site. You'll see that we're able to showcase graphics in the background, around the corners and the edges of the pages. You'll also see that there's a honeycomb design in the background of the landing page that carries throughout. Again, we want that to be sort of interpretive, depending on what your experiences are. You may see that honeycomb design and think nature, think sustainability. You may also see that honeycomb design and think it looks like pixels and graphics and innovation. You may see that honeycomb design and think that it has an appearance of building blocks and connectivity and more things to come. So again, that design, that modern approach, that modern feel, we wanted to make sure that this effort with this website was not going to give us the same thing that we had previously. I've already touched on some of those accessibility features. We do have the ability on our website now, if someone speaks or reads in a different language and they want to be able to use our website in that different language, they can click into that function and have that available for them. The mobile optimization is huge. That device agnostic design, being able to have the same form and function and experience from desktop to mobile to tablet, that is a big user experience plus. The improved navigation, I can't tell you how nice it is to be able to go to one page and use an accordion drop down instead of having to click into 5 separate pages to get to one set of information. The design and the enhanced navigation is really, really sound. The content management system on the back end for staff is really, has a really strong design as well. Not only are we able to house our content there, we're also able to house content labels so that that enhances the accessibility and search functions for anyone thinking and considering those WCAG compliance and that ADA compliance. And then those interactive features, especially the service finders and people who look to REPT, our video features, because they're seeking more detail. And I'm actually going to highlight just a little bit about this. So you all may remember that we initiated REPT on our prior site back in February. And this is a video engagement tool specific to government. It's embedded in our site. It does not scroll or search information outside of our site. It's specific only to what we have here in the Morrisville site. Staff continues to build out these resources, so it's really good content for any visitors to our site. Our site officially launched October 6th. 1 week post-launch, we were receiving some information from our REPT vendor, who we receive information from regularly, but we were really excited by what they shared. We were in 2 of the highest ratings across all REPT partners nationwide, 1 week post-launch. 2 weeks post-launch, our average watch time was the highest rating across all rep partners nationwide. And I have just a quote from him there at the bottom that really just showcases that our content is sound, our use of the content, the way that our staff and our council, several of you have recorded videos, is sound, and it's providing good information, and people are able to ask those questions within that rep app and get the answers that they need. So we're really proud of that, and we're really excited to be able to continue using that. So I'm gonna just do one more quick slide here before I turn over to Rox. Again, just want to highlight that this was not an effort that was achieved overnight. We've been working on this project for well over a year. Looking there at the timeline on the screen in front of you, you'll see the evidence of our collaborative efforts, not only with our vendor, but engagement with our staff, engagement with town council, seeking and using the community insights that we got, really just to help ensure that we were on the right path and delivering a more useful and accessible website for all. So, as mentioned, I really want Rox to be able to walk you all through some of the great features that we love about our site. So I am going to turn this over to her.
Good evening. All right, so first and foremost, last winter, there were a few of you that were very upset that I could not get banners on the old website. And so when we started going through this, I kept saying, but teach me how to make a banner, please. So we now have banners. They can be colored as far as green, yellow, or red to be able to show urgency to the community. And I can put them up and take them down at will. So this is way easier than the last website where we would have to embed and make sure all the coding was right, and Rox doesn't know how to do coding. So you will see up here, at this point, I feel like y'all are pretty familiar with how the homepage looks and responds to everything. We now, instead of just a banner that is sliding through, we have a video that really showcases the beauty and the diversity of our town. And as Aaron was talking about, one of the things that I decided to do in the design phase was really grayscale everything down. I wanted to do that very intentionally because our brand colors tend to clash with all the colorful events that we have. And so to have brand colors and then try to really showcase Holi or Diwali or the menorah lighting, everything was kind of looking like too much. And so I wanted to grayscale the website as much as possible so that when you see the photos of our actual community and what we're actually doing around here, it just pops out so much more. And so I'm really happy with how that has turned out. If you go down a little bit, we have our top 8 buttons that the community uses. All of the things that are here now as far as drop-down menus and buttons and the rest of what you'll see on the homepage, my goal is to keep everything up and the same for about 6 months. I'm reaching out to Granicus to see if we can get heat mapping and some of that data back around every quarter for the first year so that we know how to move these things, what people are actually using versus what they're having a hard time finding still. I don't think it does us any good to make a website and then go, okay, it's done, and we're just gonna hope that you know where everything is. And so I really want to be watching the data on this at least quarterly for 6 months, well, every 3 months for the first 6 months before we make any changes to the homepage, and then probably revisiting that at the end of a year. If you go down, we now have the service finder, which was a beast to build out, but I'm very excited about how it's working. And now we have all of our events. I mean this in no uncertain terms. On the back end of this website, calendars have been the most exciting thing to me. So where with our old website, we had probably 10 separate calendars in 10 separate places. and there was no way to just join them all. Because of the content label function that we have now, we're able to build calendars that include certain content labels. So I'm able to have a town calendar that just includes every single event and meeting that is there. I'm able to have a parks calendar that only pulls in parks events. I'm able to have a senior center calendar that only pulls in senior center events. With the parks calendar, I'm able to say, we want Cedar Fork, we want senior center, we want MAFC, we want all of these pulled into this one calendar, and it's making our life on the back end much more efficient. And I'll go back into calendars in a minute, but we're just gonna slide down for a second. So, latest news, once again, this was a little lackluster on the old website, and I really like how this one is highlighted. Whatever the newest one will always pop up with a photo. We've got all of our ways that you can explore, and then we've got the map that we had made, and then resources. One of the things that I found really interesting in the UX design, the user experience design training, was that especially for things like permitting, if you put it all the way at the bottom of the page, the people who know where they need to go for it are more likely to just scroll through and hit it, versus if they're at the top, they're going to kind of be searching through. And so it's just much easier to put a lot of the more like mundane and daily things that someone may need to look up at the very bottom. We've got our Live Connected, Live Well, and then you've got all of the contact us and resources here. I also forgot to show you, I think you've seen it before, but I want to make sure we highlight it, our cookie, or not our cookie, our Easter egg. There we go. So when you hover over our logo, it now turns into the trees and sky, and I just think that that's so cool. So I want to go back into calendars for a minute. So we're going to check out the town calendar. You can now look up every single event and meeting on the town calendar. And what's really cool is that you just have to click for it to give you the basics of the information. And then if you need all of the information, you're able to go here. And now also, instead of us having to put in every single date of every single event, we are able to make one event and then just keep populating dates into the information, which is, it's just streamlining everything on our end. But everything also has a map to be able to show you how to get there. And we have different content labels for things that are free. So if we ever wanted to make a calendar that's just free events and meetings, that will be able to just populate very easily. You also have your services and forms, and I will use, we'll use public records requests. So this is one of the things that I've been really happy about, and Aaron kind of hit on it, is between the accordion and the tabs functionality that we did not have before, we have been able to pare down about, on average, 5 pages down to 1. And so remember, when we've been talking through this entire process, one of my big goals was to get everything down to 2 clicks, to get as much of that information without having to just dig through the website. And so these would have been, in fact, I know that they were because I managed them, these were 3 different pages. And now they're just 3 tabs on 1 page. And so that has been awesome. We're gonna check you guys out. So this is another one that was multiple pages, and now you're able to just go in and see everything. Here's your meeting for tonight. It's also going to show you any of the other advisory committee or town council meetings on this one calendar. You're going to be able to see how to do public comment. Everything is here, and this was probably 5 or 6 pages before, which is crazy when you think about it. This is also, actually, let me take you to fire. Fire's a really good example for paring down the pages. If you look at safety tips, every single one of these was a page. And now we've been able to take that down. And Bill Granger has been amazing at sticking with ADA compliance. And what Aaron was saying with that is we needed to be super cognizant of that. I don't know how familiar all of you are with it, but as far as I want to say the end of April, when the end of April hits, we have to be meeting these guidelines as a municipality. And so it was really important in the redesign to just make sure that we were going ahead and hitting them. And Granicus had people that went through and audited everything that we were doing to make sure we were meeting ADA guidelines for accessibility. Just everything is so much more aesthetically pleasing, so much more accessible and easy to get to. Would you like me to hit on anything else?
If you'll do a translation. Just to show the ease of how that moves.
Yep, and so we have, I believe our top four, yes, our top four languages in Morrisville are here. And it's so simple. It's so nice. Also, before I forget, the same day that we launched the new website, we also launched a new rep platform, which is one of the reasons why we were following those numbers so closely. Rep has a new design for a video dashboard, and this is what that looks like. Look at all these shots of Brandon. But it's so easy. We don't have to watch that. It's so easy to be able to ask it a question, see what it says. Everything that could tie in that's already populated into it also goes ahead and will suggest itself down at the bottom when you need an answer. And so I'm really proud of how well Rep is doing on the site. Do you have any questions?
Start with Councilmember Rabadi and then Councilmember Rao, please.
I agree, Rox. Great job.
Thank you.
Just so much more aesthetically pleasing than the old website, like by orders of magnitude. So I do have a couple of thoughts just from a user experience perspective. If you go down this menu, like just mouse over it, I noticed that on some of the menus, so on some of the menus, I see that the mouse over is black. And like, for example, on the safety tips page, the mouse over was blue. And I think that just from a branding perspective, I personally would rather see those be blue, green, because we're keeping the Morrisville blue and green, and I really do like them. So that was one thing.
I believe on the drop down it is black. When it's on a page and it's a hover color, that's when it changes to the brand colors.
Okay, I think it should always be brand colors. I don't think the grayscale here specifically is adding any value from a UX perspective. And so that would just be my personal preference. And then the other thing was on the, where did I see that? Can you go back to the homepage, like the original homepage?
Yeah. Oh, to the old homepage?
No.
Oh, okay.
I never want to
can't
see
get there
that
right
again.
now.
So I've had this experience on other websites when there's a video. We're not going to be changing this video every day. We'll change it once a quarter.
It'll probably be quarterly, yeah.
So once you come to the website and seen it, then it becomes, if you're coming to the website regularly, like for example, to check out events that you want to sign up for, there has to be a way really quickly, like to hit the website and just close this out. You know, so that you don't have to scroll down through the video every single time. Like just, I think that would add some value, just an X right up there next to the stop the pause thing.
I don't know that that was even an option to us in wireframing. I don't remember it being something that they said that we could do. I know we picked video just to make sure aesthetically that we were doing the most that we could.
Oh, I think the video's fantastic.
Thank you.
I love the video.
But yeah, I don't remember in the wireframing conversation them saying that that was even an option for it to close out or.
And there's no like up arrow that we could put at the bottom to like, okay, well then there you go. All right. I think this is just a fantastic job, though. I mean, it's so much better.
Thank
And
you.
I agree with you about the grayscale largely. I do think it's, I do think the aesthetics are better.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rao, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Garamella, please.
She asked most of my questions. It's really, really well done. I mean, it's just excellent. The only question I had was, we'd had in the past some discussion about using generative AI for searchability of documents for staff and eventually extending that to residents. So even though we can search for public records and minutes and stuff like that, will that be something that we incorporate as we figure out how our IT department is doing that?
That's an IT question. I know that they're still working on some of the things as far as getting a chat bot up and
Yeah.
all of that. So, yeah.
So that would be an IT discussion and eventually
Yes,
we would
and
figure
we're
out how-
working with them on it, but I don't know how to
Okay.
answer it.
No. Just curious whether we would integrate that into the website, which sounds
Yes,
like we would.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Garamella, please.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's pleasant to just, the colors are pretty soothing. Search is the biggest issue that we had previously. How has that been modified for the ease of the people to find something on it?
So the search function on this is just better in general. One of the things that happened when we launched is that the site mapping kind of has to learn or relearn where everything is. And so when we first launched, of course, there were issues with searching from Google or from Bing to be able to get to the website and exactly where you wanted to. That takes time. We did what we could manually to be able to speed up that process for a little bit. As far as being able to search, my nails are too long to type on this one. So it's already just way more responsive than what the last one was. You could search for budget on the last site and it was gonna pull up any planning document that had the word budget in it, and there was no rhyme or reason to it. The other option, of course, is to be able to go to Ask Morrisville, or yes. I really can't type with my nails.
I got you.
This keyboard is different than mine.
So I just typed in, what is the current budget?
So what is this different than the chatbot that is getting added?
So this is only pulling from our website and our videos that we create for it. And so it's gonna give you current budget information, and then these are all the budget-related videos that we have made. Whereas the chatbot, we can say, since we do Water with Carrie, right? We can say, you also need to pull information from Carrie. You also need to pull information from Wake County. The chatbot is a lot more grand.
So are you saying we'll have both of them instead of one?
So the goal was, when we started the process, Rept and the chatbot vendor that we were using, were planning on integrating. At this point, we think that that talk has stopped, and so we are trying to figure out, do we go with Granicus and their chatbot to maybe see if they will integrate with Rept? We don't want two different floaters on the screen. So that's something that we're trying to figure out with IT right now.
Okay. The other thing is, I just wanted, instead of budget, can you do minutes? Because I am having a hard time pulling many of the minutes out of it.
So is the public. I'll add that I don't believe the minutes are on our new website yet, just as they weren't on our old one. We're currently going through a proposal process to find a new agenda and minute provider to make it much easier for the public to access. For now, the public has to go through my office to access minutes.
So we are saying none of the minutes are online now?
Not right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was the reason I couldn't find them. Okay. And also, are we transferring all the thing to YouTube, or you're still doing half and half?
You mean all of the archived videos? I believe IT's goal is to be able to eventually get everything on YouTube.
Then what is the search? It's hard to search from there too.
Okay, I will let them know.
That's all. Thank you. And will you be changing these videos time to time? Because I would say have what are the recent activities that are going on. So that
The
I
goal
can
is
actually-
quarterly right now.
I would say a little more than that. Because it will define the things that are happening. They can click it and directly go to our upcoming events too. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Scroggs Johnson, followed by Councilmember Fender, please.
First, an overall comment on the website. I think it is vastly improved over the
Thank
other
you.
one. Very well done. You were thinking about the user experience, which is always something that we've encouraged communications to be mindful of. You know, being on the inside, it's easy to do shortcuts, but someone who's new to the town or new to get information really needs to have a very simple, easy experience. So this, I believe, will help have less clicks, be more clear. The search within the website will guide them to the area that they want to see. So very well done.
Thank you.
The one thing that I did want to respond to the comment by Councilmember Robati about the menu colors. As you're at the top of the screen, I would actually like to say that for that first experience, going through the menus, the black and white letters is more ADA compliant.
It is.
And it is appropriate for visually impaired individuals that have color blindness or similar challenges distinguishing between shades of gray or you know, different kinds of colors. So I would encourage it, at least as a first pass, that is sufficient, but then you can go into the branding as you dig in deeper and kind of pull through that. But we want to make sure that everyone has equal access to the information that is needed. So that's my comment on that one. Also, I do have some search questions. It seems like there's possibly some broken links
Yes.
in some of the documents. The search does seem better for the website itself. It's a learning kind of framework, but looking at history of projects is one of the things that both the public as well as staff and council, I think, find to be so invaluable, because we look at something in one meeting and there's maybe 2 years worth of meetings interspersed on that topic. And to try to find all that history is sometimes a challenge. And then when you pull up the agenda and you click to get the minutes, the link is broken. So I know that it sounds like we're on that task of trying to populate the minutes and so forth like that. Are we using a repository with all the documents now, and that has to be migrated into the new website, or how is that working?
Everything had to be migrated over from the old one. And then staff was asked to go through and audit any documents that they had in their department to make sure that things were up to date, that things were ADA compliant, that everything that was there was relevant information. And so everything that should be on the back end is in the back end. I would like to have a conversation about what it is y'all are normally searching for and what it is that you need to have easier access to, so that I understand maybe a better way that we can be saving it under content labels so that it makes it easier for you to be able to find things in one fell swoop rather than trying different methods.
So I can give you my 2 seconds of what I want, and I want to make sure Councilmember Fender has adequate time as well. But basically, we want to know what every single council meeting for that year is, you know. But the problem is there's been many hands in the pie, so the file names are unique from, you know, month to month. And so the searching on just the file name is impossible because you don't know what that next meeting is going to be. So every meeting that has happened every year would be nice to just be able to scroll through and look through, and then also the key topics that are associated with each one.
When you say every meeting, you mean the video or the minutes,
I
or
mean
just
that-
everything from it?
I think it is the video, and it is also the associated PDF supporting document.
Okay, I'll look into easier ways to be able to link everything. That's what I love about this, is that once I kind of have a grasp of what it is you're looking for, I'm able to go on the back end and go, okay, if I can create a label and just label these things and we get in the habit of it, it will populate it itself.
User requirements are great, aren't they?
Yes,
Thank you so much. Appreciate all the work.
thank you.
Councilmember Fender, followed by Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. I love the video. It's very, well, it's colorful, and you're right, it does stick out compared to the grayscale. I had similar questions to some of the others, with the search function. For me, that is very crucial for that to be effective as well. And I guess, like, you know, one of the things I used to always search for was the land use plan. And when I search for it, it does go to, one of the results is just plans and ordinances, but so it takes you to another page, and then from there you can select the land use plan. But I guess my question is, why doesn't it just take you straight to the land use plan?
It's probably a content label that's missing.
Okay. Because I think that's important, like someone just being able to search for UDO, and that comes up straight away. But the land use plan is just as important as the UDO to be able to look at it. And so I agree with Councilmember Scargis Johnson about the meeting minutes. I seem to remember there was a time where we were able to search for meeting minutes and they came up, and then it like mysteriously went away. So I don't know what the history was for that. But I do think it's important for us to be able to go back and search for the meeting minutes. And I'm wondering, would it be able to, like if there was a certain topic within the meeting minutes or in the agenda, like we wanted to look at all the meetings where we discussed the land use plan, would that come up as results, the meeting minutes where land use plan was a topic?
That would depend on who the vendor is that they end up going with and how their software for it works. So, because that's outside of the website, that's a whole thing that's embedded instead. So that's what Kayla was saying, is that they're in talks to try to find a new vendor for the minutes. And so that's up to their functionality.
So the vendor for the minutes would need to have search capability?
Yeah, it would just depend on how they function together and integrate.
Okay. What's the timing on that?
We're in talks with our finalists right now. I'm hoping to have that up in the next couple of months, or at least, that process getting started very soon. But I've noted your request, and I'm hoping maybe we'll be able to have that.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, that's all I had.
Councilmember Johnson, followed by myself.
So thank you both. This is a great presentation, and I can only imagine the time that went into this. So I appreciate you being here tonight and all the hours you put into this over all these months. I love, you talked about the calendar and how that has changed. I love that. I love the fact that you can now go right to that, whatever the item is on the calendar, and you can get more information about, sign up for whatever. I love the search on the calendar too. You can search by dates. So if you want to figure out what events are happening in a 1 week time period, you could do that. So that's all fabulous. I'm going to echo what you're hearing here about the search function. That really is critically important.
Yeah.
That the we are able to get what we need, but the public needs to be able to get what they want. And so I will say one thing that I am a little concerned about is the historic document search. When you go to that page, none of those links work.
Okay.
So I'm really concerned about how the public is getting the information they want right now. And if they have to go to the town clerk and she's got to do it for them, that is, that's a little concerning. So just so I understand, so it's, there are two pieces of this project. One was the revitalizing the website, redoing the website, and the other one is this back end where we're going to have this other, IT is actually dealing with how to get all these documents out there and how they're searchable. Am I understanding that correctly?
More than two pieces, because there's REPT, there is the website itself, there is Peak, which is what we're using right now for agendas and video, there is YouTube integrating into that, there is whoever's going to end up doing the minutes. There's so many different softwares that are having to integrate into this, and so IT is working on some, Kayla is working on some, it really is massive.
No doubt. Oh, that part's not lost on me, but that part's really important.
Yes.
So, and I already had mentioned this before. I have saved every agenda for the last, 15 years. I go back through them myself to look at minutes. That's how I find minutes. That's not acceptable for the public, and that's really not acceptable for us. So
Got it.
really, it's really, really important. The other thing is policies, to be able to search and pull up policies that we've adopted in the past. I struggle with finding some of those too, like advisory committee policies and whatever, and even town council policies. That one's easier to find. That one is out there, but all of these adopted policies, and again, that's probably connected to everything you just said, Rox. I get that. So I'm just emphasizing how important that piece is too.
Nope, I'm making all
Yeah,
my
I know
mental
you are.
notes, and I think Aaron's over here taking notes as well. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, I just have a couple of things to share. Thank you very much. Really good job.
Thank you.
Like, if I wasn't asking about Davis Drive intersection, like when that's going to happen, so I typed that in, and it got me over to planning. But once again, if we could go directly to the one thing that you care about, like FY22 budget, that should come right up. It shouldn't get a list of budgets and things like that. But I'm looking at the front page, and the one thing that I would love for every resident when they come to the page is to see Next Week in Morrisville, so that they can just subscribe, just have that, and Morrisville Central app. Those are the two ways that they can really be engaged with the town and have things
Right.
pushed to them. So if there's any way to have that right there at the top, like push this button, subscribe to, and you'll know what's going on. I don't know if that's within the capabilities, but those would be just the two things that I think that would make this really user-friendly.
Okay.
Like new resident, that might be a good thing. Next Week in Morrisville is probably right there, and the Morrisville Central app. Otherwise, I think this is really good, and I think it's going to grow and become better as we go.
Yes.
If you're interested in more feedback from us about, we searched on this, it didn't work that great, can we just email you guys, and
Absolutely.
that'll be helpful.
Yes.
The residents as well, they can fill out that form that you guys are
And
talking
they can
about.
do the form at the top
Mm-hmm,
that is in the banner.
right. Okay,
They can fill that out. The other thing I will say is the search, the more time that people are using it, the search is just gonna get better and better. Right now, it is working really hard to make sure that it's picking everything up because it's having to learn the new site. And so a lot of the problems are gonna solve themselves as people are using the search function and as things are being populated in.
okay. So is this like, it's teaching itself? This is an AI website?
Well, it's basically when you have a new website, every single other website and itself all have to learn where everything is now. So think of moving into a new house and you don't necessarily know where all the light switches are, right? And you don't know where the fuse box is. And it just takes like walking around a little bit to kind of figure out your way around and get used to the new house. It's doing the exact same thing.
Like a brain with the neurons? It's sort of
Yes.
creating its
And
own brain.
eventually you can do it with your eyes closed, so.
Nice. So everyone's had a chance to comment. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Rao now, and if anyone else has anything else they want to share, go ahead and let us know.
Just something that I forgot to mention, and I think it's been alluded to by this request for records and history, but one thing that I've noticed, maybe it's because my memory is getting worse because I'm getting older. I do have a really good memory, but 14 years, I mean, like when I look at the projects, you know, it would be nice to have a place on the site where people could know exactly how much investments the council has made, or the town has made for parks, like the Church Street Park, Northwest Park, the Greenway, the separate section for greenways, transportation, how much money has this town invested in roads, economic development. It would be like a dashboard. I mean, because one day, you know, I was walking and someone asked me, how much did the Wake County Library cost? And I couldn't remember. And then I went and tried to look, and it's been frustrating me because I run so much. I always go by these projects to just, looking at all the things we've done. So maybe that's something that maybe it's already on there, but it just would be nicer if it was up more visible so people could go and say they know exactly how much has been invested in transportation over, 12, 14 years, 10 years, parks, greenways. The information is there, but I wish it was there in a way where anyone in public would know exactly how much the town has invested in all these different areas.
So to keep basically the final update slide of the capital projects report as its own page or its own accordion so that it has all of the information from that one project?
I mean, the basic information is just to know how much, how much did the town invest in this project, right? I mean, you don't want to have the entire, but something that they would know, so they would be able to go. You look at all the major, you look at Church Street Park, Northwest Park, Wake County Library, Wake Competition Center. Some of these weren't all done by us, but transportation projects, Morrisville Carpenter Road, Criminal Bypass. There's people out there that think they don't even know how much money that we've invested over our own money on state roads, and I think that's important for the public to know. It's there, but I'm just saying to have something more visible, simply there, like a dashboard. So, I mean, it's just for what it's worth.
Noted. Thank you. That's a good idea.
Sounds like that's kind of what our chatbot will do. We can ask that question and it would create that
Possibly.
dashboard a la carte. I don't see any other questions. So this is really good, and this will probably be the final presentation on this, right? Because this is pretty much done, except for
I
it
hope
just
so.
gets better by itself.
I do have one more final slide just to show one last thing to you all. So did want to also let you all know, we've sort of held off on doing a public release or showcase of the design as we finalized and tweaked some things internally. Wanted to let you all know we are doing that sort of ta-da, look at our new site. We're launching that tomorrow, and that is going to be the start of a 6-week campaign. It's going to start with really just an unveiling on our socials, letting folks know that we have redesigned this website and would love for them to go and check it all out. Again, if they're having any challenges or anything like that, finding their information, We do have the feature available on the home screen of the site so that they can give us that feedback and let us know. And then each week after that, we're going to be highlighting one of the features of this redesign, be it accessibility, be it functionality, be it the look or the feel, and showcasing to folks, here's what this looks like, and here's how this comes across now in this redesign, and what this means to you and your use of the site. And then that final week of the campaign is going to be our push for user experience feedback. So it'll be about 60 days since our initial launch on October 6th. So that'll be, I think the date is December 9th that we're looking at now. So we're going to be pushing out a survey and asking folks, now that you've had some time to look at our site and play around and get some use, let us know what you think. Let us know how it's working out for you. So that's really sort of where we're planning for the next few weeks, but really appreciate your feedback and appreciate your support with this project as well.
Thank you very much. And I just had a thought. You said that the Ask Morrisville is like our ChatGPT now, right? Essentially, that's kind of like
So-
ask a question like that instead of search.
So Rept is a little bit different. Rept is where we are creating content and inputting it into that form, and that is then searchable on our site. So it's got the ask feature. If I go back here,
It just kind of looked like a ChatGPT answer.
It pulls AI from the site.
it does.
Okay.
It does like an AI search of the site. So it gives you site content and it gives you content that we have created by the video forms.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Don't see anything else. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Great job.
Thank you. Oh, and I had a whole bunch of references here showing you all of the other research and support data.
Good. Okay, now we're moving on to item 11. We have one action item tonight. We will now hear from Town Manager Brandon Zudema.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for some time. That's really loud. So what you have tonight before you is a capital project ordinance that would establish a new project at Church Street Park for improvements related to our cricket facilities. We've had some discussion about this previously, but want to make sure that we discuss this tonight as well before you are asked to take any action. So this is referring to some renovation and improvement work that needs to occur at the park. That would include taking up the field to put in better drainage. So if you've been to Church Street Park and you've seen it after a rain, it doesn't drain that well, certainly not as well as other similarly situated cricket fields. And that has impacted us to some extent in terms of scheduling events there, particularly professional cricket matches. The second part of that would be when that field is reconstructed would be to expand it from 4 pitches to 6 pitches. And that would increase our ability to play on that field by up to as much as 50%. Because again, those pitches have to be rested every so often so they don't get worn out over the course of a season. So increasing by 50% would make that field more usable. By being able to rest the pitches more often, it might let us play more in a given day or more matches over a series of days, which is particularly attractive when we're hosting tournaments. The other part of this would be to improve the lighting there. So there is some lighting in place that was added, I believe, in 2018. Park opened in 16. The lighting was added in 18 through a collaboration with a Wake County grant. In working with our partners with American Cricket Enterprises and other entities that broadcast, the lighting that is there is okay, but it is not international level lighting. It is not professional broadcast level lighting. So there is the need there, again, to enhance our ability to host matches, particularly night matches, where the professional leagues prefer to play to stay out of the heat that you tend to experience here in North Carolina. And also because those draw better, and so that helps the teams, but it also helps us in terms of bringing more people to our community, supporting hospitality tax and other items. So the total cost of that project is approximately $5 million, about $3 million to do the field and the additional pitches. The majority of that is the field and the drainage. There's a small portion of that that relates to the additional pitches being added, and then about $2 million to add the additional lighting. And so that would be adding some lighting on the existing poles, and then adding 4 new poles with the same lighting that would be going onto the existing poles to bring that up to international level lighting. We're working with our partner Musco, who did the original installation. They have very specific LED technology that makes sure that that light comes onto the field but doesn't spread into adjacent properties. Very limited impact, if any, from this on our neighbors, either to the north or to the apartment complex to the south. The reason we are bringing this now is that we are attempting to apply for a grant from Wake County and the city of Raleigh under this year's hospitality tax grant funding. So between the county and the city, they have about $23.5 million that they are going to award through grants. We are eligible for that funding because of the fact that this is a sports complex and does in fact bring visitors to our community, brings people to sleep in motels and hotels, buy food and pay meals tax and other impact on the economy for us and for Greater Wake County. So in order to make that application, one of the requirements is that we would show that there is a commitment on behalf of the town to do a share of that project. So creating this CPO and funding it is that demonstration to the county that you are committed to doing the other part of the match that would be necessary to allow this project to go forward. Again, this additional investment would have immediate impact in terms of increasing our ability to schedule and host matches, and ideally we'll also have long-term impact as the cricket grows, whether it's professional, minor, and major league, or just local cricket continues to grow. We'd be able to maximize the use of the field and the cricket facility in Church Street Park. Happy to answer any questions.
Recognize Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, please.
Thank you for sharing this update. Just to be clear, this is a proposed amendment to the CIP plan for the town of Morrisville?
That is correct. That is to establish this as a capital project on the CIP.
And at this time, we do not have a timeline. It is simply to add that item. Is that correct?
Correct. The timeline may depend on the funding that we may or may not get from the hospitality tax. Should that funding be received, we could move on the lighting as soon as this off-season, which is essentially now. And then the field improvements, again, if we receive the funding and you elected to move forward, those would come between the 26 and the 27 season because our team and our contractor would need most of that off-season to accomplish that change and be ready for the next season.
Okay. Do we know when Wake County will be assessing the competitive bidding process for the grants?
We do, thank you. So this is due November 6th, which is why we're here tonight, to make sure that we have this action. So they have a committee that will be evaluating it. They intend to do that through the end of the year. Then they'll circle back in January, make decisions. We expect notifications by mid-February.
Okay. And I would just like to say that I am aware that the field drainage is a serious problem, and it was highlighted as part of our application for the 2021, Morrisville All-American City, the fact that part of our challenge was that we had to get the cricket field ready for play after a very big rain event.
Yes.
And that was a big factor in showing community support. If we have a better drainage, we would not only be able to support sporting events, but I believe community events would be a little bit easier to schedule as well, because right now the field is fairly fragile.
Also an excellent point, thank you for that. Yeah, so this would help us to make the field a little better to use at night for community events. It would also make the field more resistant or robust, if you will, so that when it gets wet, it gets dry sooner. There's less likelihood of damaging the field with people coming onto a damp or even a wet field. So this does potentially open up the ability to host additional community events as well. Thank you.
Oh, very good, as I think that it is a municipal field, and we want to make sure the community benefits from this project.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Rabati, followed by Councilmember Johnson.
You may have covered this, Brandon, but could you explain what effect this motion, this addition, will have on the current capital project schedule?
So right now, we do not anticipate that this will impact the current CIP. We've identified funding that is not part of what was already in the model, primarily doing that out of parks reserves and also some interest that's been accrued, and you actually acknowledged earlier tonight in a BOA. So that funding will come from sort of outside what's already programmed and expected in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Garamella.
So thank you, Brandon, for all of this information. Very important. We, of course, have talked about this and heard a lot of this information, but I think it's really important to emphasize tonight for the public why the timing is so important. And I know you said, because we have to apply for this grant next week, so it's important for council to vote on this capital project ordinance so that we're showing good faith and we're showing our support of the project. I think it's also important, though, this timing for this hospitality tax grant money does not come every year. The last time was, I think, 8 years ago that we had this opportunity, and I could be wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it was 4.
Okay, thank you, 4.
So I think it was 4, and you are correct. This will not be available in 2026. I don't believe it is going to be, I don't expect, I should say, that it'll be available in 27. I think it could be 2028 before this opportunity presents itself again.
Right, thank you. I think that's important to understand why we're really thoughtful about what we're doing here to make sure that we have the opportunity to receive a lot of this hospitality tax money that comes from the town of Morrisville. A significant portion of that hospitality tax money comes from the hotels and motels and in this community. And so we want to make sure that we can tap into that if possible. And then thank you for the explanation about based on whether we receive this grant money or not will determine the next steps in this project and the timeline. That is still all to come. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Garamella, please.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. For me, I agree the drainage has to be fixed, so did we do any estimates or guesstimates to make it 3 million, or what, how did we come up with that?
Yeah, we have a written estimate from folks that we have used previously to help with making improvements to that field. So we have an estimate from that Stephen Spruill, our interim public works director, had updated this month. So that's a current estimate.
Yeah, because I'll be pretty blunt and honest. There's only one time that we get these kind of chances to do the drainage and do the cleaning. Like, does it have sprinkler systems too?
So there's already a sprinkler system that'll be maintained.
So this will come with sprinklers too, right? Because you're basically removing everything out.
Yeah, we'll put the sprinkler system back that's there if it has to be taken out.
Okay, and can we ensure, like, our staff goes and visits other places where it's really international? It's played. The reason I say that, I was there for the finals for World Cup in Barbados. It was hurricane. It was raining for 6 hours. We thought match will not be there. Morning they played. I don't know what kind of drainage they have, but it's like pretty much ready to go. So I just want to ensure like we have something like that and not just, something that we have to go back and redo it.
No, so our staff has made that type of visit to Texas already to look at what they do there, a very similar situation. Additionally, not only is our internal curator looking at this, but we're bringing in an external curator to look at the plans and see what we're doing and get their sort of agreement as well.
That's good. Thank you.
We've all had a chance to comment. We'll do a second round now. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, please.
Thank you. I just thought of one more thing. So the project, as I explained on the proposal, is about $5 million, $3 million for the drainage and $2 million for the lighting. what amount of grant are we going to target? Or is that something that,
I would politely prefer not to get into those details, only because it's a competitive grant, and the
Right.
amount of match can be a factor in how that is scored.
I wanted you to say that because I think members of the public would want to know. And it's important that they understand that, you know, the total project is 5 million, and based on, you know, consideration for how competitive this field is, we will have to determine the amount of grant which we think will be successful.
Yep, thank you.
And then we will announce it, the results, you know, good or bad, you know.
Absolutely.
After the bidding
Yeah,
process.
again, by
is-
mid-February, we anticipate being able to share that with you
Okay, thank you so much.
and the community.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing,
I want to make a
okay, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Rao to make a motion.
I want to make this motion. Is it listed in the thing here?
Just read the top of the screen. Oh, there, it went away.
Okay. Excuse me. I make a motion to adopt CPO 2025-370, establishing the new Church Street Park Improvement Project.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Rao, a second from Councilmember Johnson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. Thank you for all the hard work you've done in the background, and wish us all luck.
A lot of hard work by staff. Thank you to them, and thank you for your time tonight.
I want to thank everyone for the support of this and staff. Thank you.
Yeah, whenever I say thank you to town manager, that's always the staff as well. So right now, we're moving on to council comments, but first I want to say that for a full listing of our events, please see the town calendar at www.morrisvillenc.gov. So Councilmember Scroggins Johnson will share first, and will be followed by Mayor Pro Tem Garamella, please.
First off, I'd like to say that we've had several weeks of pretty awesome events in Morrisville. The Boo Bash was a very well-attended event, and it was a lot of fun for people of all ages, as well as just recently we had the Diwali celebration, and we had a most amazing dance number, which I actually participated in, and I am not a dancer, and I probably will never be a dancer, but it was a lot of fun to have our parks committee as well as the town council participate, and I hope to see more people raise their hand and engage next year. And I would like to say one thing. We do have an election coming up, and we just ask that you participate in your municipal elections, because this is the level that touches every aspect of your life and every day. So thank you for considering the election, but please make a plan so that you don't miss your opportunity. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Garamella, followed by Councilmember Johnson, please.
I think Vicky covered it. I'm good.
Okay, Councilmember Johnson, followed by myself.
So yes, thank you to staff for a fabulous Diwali event. That was wonderful this weekend. I was part of that dance group. That was a lot of fun. Also want to congratulate our Team Morrisville 101 graduates that received their certificates tonight. Very proud of them, and happy for them to be engaged citizens here in the town of Morrisville, and hopefully that will continue and resonate in the rest of their life. So that's it, all my comments tonight.
Okay, I'll go, and then Councilmember Abadi. So thank you to our staff for a very successful Boo Bash at Morrisville Community Park, as was mentioned. It was a joy to see families come together in costume and celebration, and your hard work made that all possible. Today, October 28th, is National First Responders Day, and I'd take a moment to recognize and thank the firefighters, police officers, public works team, EMTs, paramedics, 911 dispatchers, and all emergency and public safety personnel who serve our community. Your courage, dedication, and sacrifice are the backbone of public safety, and we're deeply grateful for your service. Whether responding to emergencies, supporting community events, or simply being a reassuring presence, you make Morrisville a safer and stronger place for all of us. Congratulations to Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church on celebrating 148 years. You are a foundational part of our community, and we're grateful to have been included in your celebrations. Thank you to our staff, our CERT team, our vendors, volunteers, performers, and the thousands of families who joined us to celebrate Diwali this past Saturday evening. We enjoyed performing for you again, and the highlight for me was dancing together with so many people in front of the stage as the sky darkened and the fireworks began. These shared memories strengthen our community and demonstrate to all here in North Carolina and across the globe that Morrisville is a welcoming and inclusive town that values everyone and every culture. Morrisville is truly a town for everyone. As we continue to build our future together, I want to remind everyone that early voting is now underway. Our nearest location is the Herb Young Community Center in Cary. That's open from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. daily through Friday, and from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th, and polling places will be open from 6:30 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. Please note, for some of you, that former Precinct 0507, which voted at Parkside Elementary School, has been split into precincts 0509 and 0510. I encourage everyone to check your voter registration to confirm whether you still vote at Parkside Elementary or if you now vote at Carpenter Elementary School. Let's keep showing the world what a connected, caring, and engaged community looks like. Okay, so check on that because that might be incorrect what I stated.
It's Cedar Fork.
Okay, so it will be Cedar Fork for that other precinct. Thank you very much, everybody. So let's keep showing the world what a connected, caring, and energized, engaged community looks like. Councilmember Rabadi is next.
What they said. And also, thank you, Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, for that perspective on the effect of the website on people with impaired or diminished vision. It's not something I ever have to think about, but it's a great reminder, and I'm happy that you have that perspective.
Councilmember Fender, followed by Councilmember Rao.
Two things. First, like the other members have said, is early voting is now through Saturday, November 1st. There actually are 4 places in the whole county that you can vote through November 1st. That's Apex at the Avery Street Recreation Center, the Hubert Young Center in Cary, and then I don't know where. Garner.
Board of Elections.
And then the Board of Elections office in Raleigh. If you're not able to get out there, then go to your precinct on November 4th. And then the second thing I wanted to mention, I'm glad Mayor brought it up and reminded me. I did want to thank the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church for opening their doors to the public and sharing the information that they've gathered on the history of the Shiloh community, some of the original founders of the community, that, you know, they have a founder that fought in the Revolutionary War. So it's every time I listen to their presentations, I always learn so much, and so it was a really great event, and so just wanted to thank them for hosting that. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Rao.
Excuse me. Well, the good news is ditto on every event you mentioned, so I'm not going to repeat any of that. I just have two things. First, this will be the first year that I'm not on the ballot in 14 years in Morrisville, and I just want to wish all the candidates all across Wake County for all the best in your race, and I want to thank you for having the courage to put yourself out there to run, and it's not easy, so congratulations. Second thing, point of personal privilege, New York Times journalist and Morrisville native Sonia Rao broke a story yesterday on Governor Gavin Newsom of California running for president. She wanted me to let the mayor and the council know that if she ever leaves New York, she would love to come back to Morrisville, and that we're doing great work. And then finally, Wakabumi Teenage Entrepreneurship Summit was great in Durham, and really had a lot of fun interacting with the students, and also attended some robotics events at Best Brains Learning Center. So see a lot of these youth groups doing robotics and very interesting things. So that's all I have. Looking forward to the early end of the meeting. Just joking.
Okay, great. One short public service announcement. It's getting to be flu season, so if everyone could go out and get their shots, that'd probably be a positive thing. Town Manager Zudema, anything to share?
Thank you. Yes, I do, Mayor. First, I want to welcome Kayla back. Great to have her back and everything running super. Also want to thank Michelle Parker Evans, who filled in admirably to make sure we got through the meeting on the 14th and kept up with our public records requests and other things. So very appreciative of her, but also glad to have Kayla back. Secondly, just a reminder, we have a PZB seat that needs to be from the ETJ. We do not currently have a candidate for that seat, so if anyone happens to be watching this meeting and might be interested, if you live in the ETJ, we'd love to hear from you. And just a reminder for you as well, that if you think you know of anyone that might be interested and or willing to serve, the current person seated is willing to continue, and they're authorized to do that by the UDO until the seat can be filled, but they are not applying to continue in that role permanently. So we are going to seek to identify a PZB ETJ candidate.
And what would that commitment be?
So that is a 3-year term. While most of our committees are 2-year terms, PZB is a 3-year term.
And it's one meeting a month?
It is typically one meeting a month. There are some months where they don't necessarily meet if they don't have business to conduct, but they are scheduled to have one meeting a month each year.
Okay. Councilmember Johnson.
So we, in the past, have not been able to get somebody to apply. I hear the current ETJ member is willing to stay on, but we have not been able to get applicants, and we have been given the okay to appoint a non-ETJ member to that seat. So that is precedence that has been set. So let's look into that again, please, so that if the current member really wants to step aside, that we potentially have that opportunity.
Yes, and Kayla and I were literally just sending a team's message about talking to Wake County about options and what they'd be willing to do. So yes, we will certainly pursue that.
Okay, thank you.
Two more quick things. One, council retreat, again, is tentatively scheduled, or I say tentatively in that it's scheduled unless it really has to change, January 23rd through 25th. That is an out-of-town retreat this year. And so Kayla has done some research and has identified 2 options to be considered. One would be Asheboro. I don't believe we've been there as a council, at least not in some time. And then the other option would be Wilmington. So if you have thoughts on that for our continuing council members, please let Kayla and I know if you have a preference to one or the other. We would like to start make reservations there and make sure we don't miss out on opportunities and get the other things that we need scheduled, bus-wise and other things. So in the next couple of days, if you could indicate any preference, or if you just want to tell Kayla tonight on a break, that would be fantastic as well. The last thing I want to share with you is you may have seen an article today, or more than one article today, about some changes coming to the Wake EMS system. I do want to share with you that Chief Dooley has been in regular meeting with Wake County to be hearing about what some of those proposed changes are. We are scheduled, the managers are scheduled to meet with Wake County, the manager and the EMS director in the first week of December to get some information from them. So if I will certainly share any information and any impact that has as soon as we have that meeting. Do not expect that to have a negative impact on our residents. Actually expect an increased level of service, particularly for priority calls for service that need immediate EMS attention. And that is what the county is really trying to focus on, is making sure that they're getting there quickly to the high priority calls. So again, we'll have some more information to share after that December meeting, but wanted to let you know we are aware of that. We're having those conversations, just don't have full feedback to share with you yet.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, we're scheduled to take a break. We're a little ahead of schedule, so let's take 15 minutes and reconvene at 8 o'clock down at the work session table. Please bring your microphones and your new speaker cards. Let's reconvene at 8 p.m., please. Thank you. Okay, okay.
Better? There we go.
There we go, okay. To Town Manager Zudema to lead us through this work session, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening again. So you may recall that in a prior roundtable discussion, it was brought up the question of the possibility of a lobbyist. So I've been able to do some research on that, talk to some of my peers. So what I want to do tonight is give you an overview of what I think a lobbyist could do for the town, some options there, share with you what some of our peers are doing, offer some options if you were to move forward for what recruitment and funding might be, and then really just seek your direction on next steps. Absolutely not asking for any action tonight. I'm actually going to recommend you might want to do something before you make any other decisions, but it's a roundtable item and we're trying to get those cleaned up for you. So here we are. I'm going the wrong way. Okay, so I think this goes without saying, but I'll say it out loud. You know, the lobbyist could do a number of things for you. First of all, the lobbyist is obviously, I think, primarily going to maintain positive working relationships with elected officials outside the town. So that's going to be our state elected officials that represent us. That's going to be other state elected officials that, you know, influence legislation that might impact us, the corner offices, if you will, of the leadership. Certainly some interaction, if you choose to, with the federal elected officials. And then there's also opportunities with state agencies, DOT, DEQ, any number of other folks that might be funders for us or folks that we might work with. Additionally, again, one of the things that some lobbyists do is track legislation. That could be in a primary role. We could ask them to be that person that reviews everything for us, or it could be a support role. We could continue to do that primarily through a staff member, and they would collaborate with a lobbyist. Right now, we really primarily rely on NCLM for legislative briefings and updates. With Aaron's transition into the communications department, I'm essentially your legislative liaison right now, making sure that I'm tracking bills and sharing information as things occur. And then, you know, there's also, in addition to NCLM, we also get some professional association updates, particularly for planning and inspections are two of the ones that are most commonly impacted, but also PD sometimes through the Chiefs Association, Fire Department through the Chiefs Association. So a number of ways you get that information is generally never coming from one source. Other things we would probably ask the lobbyists to do would certainly meet with me on a recurring basis, or members of the senior leadership team and the leadership team, meet with you on a recurring basis, and then consult with you potentially on your annual legislative agenda, which you have coming up here shortly. So just some other considerations, and if you have questions, feel free to stop me, but I'm going to keep moving otherwise. You know, you may just want to think about, is that lobbyist affiliated with a party? How does that influence your decision-making? How does that influence how they might work for you, depending on what the makeup of the council is? I would suggest you probably want somebody that has state experience clearly, perhaps federal experience if that's where you think you might direct resources. And then again, we're going to have to develop guidelines collaboratively, you and staff, as to, you know, what the use of the lobbyist is. Is that somebody that anybody can call? Is that somebody that only council or I call, just depending on what the contract looks like? And are we paying, you know, for every hour we talk to them, similar to what we do with the attorney's office? We just want to make sure we would consider regulating that. And then you would really have to decide if you have anything that you think would be disqualifiers. Is there something you just don't want to have in a lobbyist or would rule out considering a lobbyist? I don't have great examples of that. That's something we'd come back and talk more about. So the regional approach, what's going on? So I spoke with Apex, Cary, Garner, and Holly Springs, the folks that I think are probably most similar to us in, you know, both in our region and in the way they operate. And there's a variety of approaches. There's not a lot of consistency. It really ends up being what you as a council would want to happen. So Cary actually has staff that has lobbyist experience. Most others do not. Some use the lobbyists to focus on issues based on direction from the town, while others use the lobbyists to review all the proposed legislation and then go back and forth with the town on what you want them to work on or chase after. Some work strictly with the legislature, while others would focus on other entities and individuals, and some use an individual lobbyist and others use a firm that would give you some potential different options. Councilmember Fender.
Yeah, so a question here. So can you be a little more specific on what each of the towns do, Apex and Holly Springs? specifically?
So Holly Springs uses, I believe, and I'm on my memory now, so bear with me. I believe Holly Springs uses an individual. I believe that Apex uses a firm. Cary has a lobbyist, but again, they do some of that work on their own. And then Garner has an individual lobbyist.
So then Apex that has the individual, is that similar to what we would be considering, that it would be someone like how we use our town attorney?
That really would be your decision to make.
But what is Apex doing? That's what I'm asking.
I believe Apex uses a firm right now. I think Holly Springs has an individual, and if
Okay.
my memory serves me, I believe Apex uses a firm.
Okay, I got that back. So then Holly Springs, when you say they use an individual, it's not part of staff?
Correct.
Okay.
They pay for a lobbyist.
Okay. That's all.
Yep. Same thing in Garner. They pay an individual to be their lobbyist.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, I'll wait till the end.
Okay. So as I mentioned, there's really no right approach. It's really what suits the needs of the council at any given time. Again, the majority of our peer communities express value in the investment in a lobbyist. This is my, if you will, homework, if you'd like to accept it. I would suggest you talk to some of your peers in these other communities and see what they think of the lobbyists. Because I'm talking to managers, but that's a different perspective than what your peers may have, whether it's mayors or council members in those or other communities. Again, I haven't checked with the other, the other 7, I mean 6. I know Raleigh uses a lobbyist. I assume most of them do to some extent. But again, that would probably be of good value to you to understand what they think about what's going on and if they're getting their value for whatever they're paying. So if you were to move to a point in the future of wanting to recruit a lobbyist, obviously you have to reach consensus on that you want to hire a lobbyist and how you want to approach that. You would want to establish your criteria for what are you exactly looking for in a lobbyist. I think that goes back to the what should a lobbyist do and sorting through some of those options. You would also need to determine whether you want to use an RFP and see what comes, or if you want to do limited outreach. We do have some identified potential candidates, primarily out of Frank's office, that if you were interested, you could certainly look that way to talk to individuals. And then if you wanted to use an RFP, I have included a sample RFP in the agenda that you can take a look at and see what that might look like. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Got so many buttons here. There we go, button. Okay, so I'm not gonna take too much time, but one of the things as I'm listening to the introduction of this lobbyist concept is for me to understand what I want the lobbyist to do, if we do indeed decide, is what does success look like? And more specifically, what are the opportunity costs of not having a lobbyist? So if we have examples of where we missed either an analysis of new legislature as it pertains to Morrisville, or if there was an opportunity for some grants at a federal or state level that we missed because we didn't have someone monitoring those kind of opportunities that might occur. But understanding what the opportunity cost is helps me understand the landscape, and that would tailor the requirements for that lobbyist skill. It might be an individual or it might be a specialty. And also what are detractors is, I don't know, over the years, I've noticed when we visit the legislature, sometimes we give them some swag, like Morrisville magnets or something, just very, very nominal. And the question they ask is, do you have a lobbyist? And I've heard that, but I don't know what the legal kind of thing is. I think there's some sort of legal barrier if you have a lobbyist that you're not allowed to do that, but if you don't have a lobbyist, then the nominal value rule kind of applies. So I don't know if that's just something that they did years ago or it's current, but there are other examples, of course, if you have a lobbyist, what you can and cannot do as a town. Thanks.
And I think part of that selection of a lobbyist is, part of your interview process is what's your familiarity with being a lobbyist in North Carolina, being a lobbyist in Raleigh, what can you, can't you do? I would say, to your point, I don't believe we're missing opportunities for grant funding. You know, we do have the NCLM that tracks things for us, and then we also have not only our internal grants team, but we're still partnered with Central Pines Council of Government with their grants team. So I'm pretty confident that we're not missing opportunities. But again, the outreach of a lobbyist can certainly go a lot of different ways. Mayor Pro Tem.
So I think that basically what we would need a lobbyist to do that we don't have covered by another agency or another person right at the moment is to move the needle for us on legislation. For that reason, I honestly think that we should table this discussion until after the 2026 midterms. I just think that in the current political climate, we can throw all the money we want as a lobbyist who can go to Raleigh day after day after day and not move the needle one bit. Our elected representatives are having the exact same experience. So I'm just throwing that out there. Thank you.
I see a lot of value when you ask what success looks like. He can talk more than anyone else here, but it's a purpose for what we are doing, and it's not a lobbyist. It's like, you don't have a traffic attorney to doing some criminal kind of things. It's all like people are specialized in every field and respect. It's not like Frank is on the restaurant lobby or something, like the other ones are other. So for us, it's more of a la carte, like, retainer. You use it for that particular purpose.
Excuse me, Satish, would you mind moving your mic closer?
Yeah. So you use it for a particular purpose. Once it's done, there's no obligation that you have to stick with them. It might be a different purpose, different lobbyist.
Because we're a small town, we don't have that.
Yeah. So that way, it's just a retainer for particular. Could be lobbying with DOT, lobbying with some other things. So 2026 elections, it's far off. I think those ones, we have NCLM and those kind of things, but having a local bill that we want to push. So there are many things. There's a lot of value add. Otherwise, all the other towns will not be having until they see a value to it.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
I had one point. but-
I'm sorry, Councilmember Rao, Mr.
No, it's okay. Just a couple things to think about. I mean, I think that normally I had a really good conversation with Morrisville native who knows the mayor, lives in Preston. I'm not gonna name the name, but he's not interested in municipal work, but he's a very good lobbyist. And we were talking, and I think it just, first of all, I think there have to be very specific objectives of what you're trying to do, so there's no general. So any lobbyist that you select would have an agreement that they would say that these are the things that we're going to do in the first 60 days, 90 days, 100 days. It could be state agencies like DOT. One area could be funding for Cricket Church Street Park, for example, economic money. It would require having relationships on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican, so a firm that could do that. And a lot of times these firms, like Durham did an RFP recently, and they selected a firm at the federal level for federal, but they're partnering with another firm for the state level. And they did a formal RFP and they went with the firm. So I think that's kind of the way it works, is the town would have to have identified objectives of what they would want to achieve going at the state level, the legislative level. And then perhaps local bills, which I think is good. We've had in the past success with some local bills. I think the most recent one I remembered is the one that allowed us to use fees for apartments, multifamily for parks. Was that a local bill? Didn't we do a local bill for that?
For which?
Parks payment in lieu.
The last I remember was the police service dogs you could
Okay,
get or something like that. That was Gale Act Club that had.
yeah, so I think that's just at a high level. I mean, I think it's a great idea, just depending on what, you find the good fit. If you want to do an individual, if you want to do somebody, normally these firms charge retainer fees or, hourly rates. They can do 6-month engagements, 1-month engagements. So that would just come into the process of what we want. And a lot of times lobbying firms will do we'll sign an agreement for 6 months and then you can opt out, so you're not stuck, for years. So, anyway.
Councilmember Johnson?
So I'm sorry, I know you have a couple more slides, Brandon, but I think I want to kind of jump on this conversation. I think it's really important that we are clear about the goals that we want to achieve before we
agreed.
just hire a lobbyist.
Agreed.
And so I think we need to have more discussion about what the goals are. And so if the goals are to find grant money that maybe we're missing, but I'm hearing maybe we're not, maybe we need to dive into that whole piece of it. And then this other piece of it, I do see value in hiring a lobbyist if we have some specific legislation we want to see get approved. And so I will give you for an example. We just talked tonight earlier about the hotel motel, the hospitality tax fund that the town of Morrisville for decades has been a donor to that pot of money, and yet we get nothing. And I think that if we wanted to start advocating for our fair share of that hospitality tax and that would be a big ask of the General Assembly. I'm not naive to that. That would be something I would say we definitely need a lobbyist to shepherd that kind of a bill through the General Assembly, because that is too huge for us and our staff to handle alone.
Absolutely.
So anyhow, I think if we have this conversation about what the goals are and what we're really trying to achieve, I think that's going to be more important than taking this next step. And then I'll add, thank you for giving us or challenging us on the task of reaching out to our peers. I agree with you. I think you've heard from your peers, and there's a different dynamic with the elected officials. So I do, and I've not done that. I'll be honest, I've not done that talk to Cary or Apex or Holly Springs. So I will take that challenge and have that conversation and see whether they think it's a return on investment that's valuable or not. Because that clearly, I need to see some of that too. What are we missing that we need this for? What are we gonna kind of get out of this? So that's all I have for today.
No, thank you. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, to let you all talk through some of this, and that'll help us, I think, better figure out what next steps might be. So again, on the recruitment piece, just wrapping that up, obviously, if you were to do that, I would suggest you would interview candidates. I would suggest you might want to consider myself, Frank, or Lori, and 2 to 3 of you to be involved in that process. Then you would then select, obviously, a candidate or a firm and make negotiations on how that might be arranged. Just on a timing standpoint, so if you were to think about this in 2026, again, it is a short session. That short session is officially convening on April 21st. However, as a result of Resolution 2025-8, there are already reconvening times or sessions scheduled, what would now be November, December of this year, and then January, February, and March, and April, all leading up to the actual short session starting. So still trying to work on items that were quote unquote alive in 25. Yeah, thank you. So the goal could be, that you try to get somebody on board sooner, or it could be that you want to think about trying to get somebody to be here when the short session starts, or you could hold. You could decide you want to wait a period of time until perhaps things change a little bit in Raleigh, where it might be more impactful to do so. Mayor Pro Tem.
See, this is good information, but we will only need when we have a need for it.
Correct.
Right? So I think it's not like I think the purpose is it came as a roundtable, see the purpose, see the value, and just giving, staff an approval whenever it's needed. We don't have to go through this policy. And we can say, okay, go for a lobbyist. Like we don't have any bills that we have to do for 2026. So why do we have to, like something else could come, before that. And then they say, okay, Brandon, get a lobbyist and who is specialized in this and move forward. Those kind of conversation. It's like on need basis, but at least that gives you the flexibility based on when the consensus of the council, what to do next.
I agree, and I think, all I would offer is if you think there's gonna be a time, I think you would wanna have somebody or somebody's potentially selected before, because by the time you recognize there's something you wanna speak to and we go through a process, it's probably gonna be done and over before we get somebody in there. So again, that may lean you towards a firm that might have, some different options for those different attorneys, but yes. Councilmember Rabati and then Councilmember Fender.
How would we do this anyway outside of a budget cycle?
We would have to, and I've got that coming up as well, you would have to identify funding to cover that. Councilmember Fender?
Yeah, I think we should wait until after the election and when you have your new council members in place.
Yeah, we certainly can't move before then. It's not practical to, we don't have time on an agenda. This would probably be, I think the question for me is this a January work session where you've had a chance to talk to people and we come back and do some talk about what goals might be and what are you trying to accomplish with this? Or is it not that urgent and we could push it back into the spring and it might be more part of a budget conversation of do you want to identify funds to do that? Or you could say, we're just gonna hold on. I think you've got lots of options there. But yes, I agree with you, Councilmember Fender.
Yeah, we're not planning on making a decision on this before December.
But we can't. We don't have the ability to do that yet.
Good, thank you.
So briefly on cost and funding, it really depends on what services are required, what you're looking for. Of the peers that I've spoken to, the general range is between $50,000 and $75,000 annually. And obviously that comes with different levels of service and things you'd want to work through. Again, to Councilmember Rabati's point, we don't have any funding reserved in FY26 to compensate a lobbyist. We could try to identify funding that would probably have to come out of governing body budget, and we would have to come back with you and explain what that might impact, because this is a tight year, and I have that note here. Obviously, it would be a recurring cost if you chose to go into future years, and just for context, we are still holding some work that won't get approved until April after we start to see some sales tax returns. So doesn't mean we can't do something, but just I think that's contextual for you. That's what I got. If you have other questions, if not, I think our next steps would be let you speak with your peers over maybe the next couple of months. And then if there's specific information you would like to hear from us, please let me know that. We would try to gather some of that before a work session. And again, obviously, I think the election timing does influence this process. So the earliest we could come back is January. And it might even be February because January is already looking fairly busy and we're going to be prepping for retreat and things like that. And then you go, what is your goal? When would you want to have somebody ready? And so there's no rush on any of that, but I'm happy to answer any other questions or hear any other comments or suggestions. Mayor?
So thank you for all of this. I really liked and it resonated with me, Councilmember Johnson, Scroggy Johnson, about what does success look like? What is the outcome we're looking for? So one thing I'd be interested in knowing is if we could essentially start the process and get to a point where there's one or two firms that we want to go ahead and reach out to and hire if something bubbles up. So short of retainer, where we're just money out the door waiting, I'd be interested in getting to that point at least, so that if something does pop up, and I really like the idea of getting some more of the hospitality motel tax that's been in the back burner for a little while. So I think that could be something good, but I think NCLM is doing a good job for us in this space as our unofficial lobbyist anyway. So those are just my thoughts right off the bat, that it's not really broken yet, but we'd like to be able to respond quickly.
Yeah.
If necessary, would be my thought.
Certainly. Anyone else? All right, well, thank you for the input, the insights. We will plan to get this, I'm going to say February to be safe, because I think January is going to be busy, because of course we don't do any business in December. So I would say we'll try to bring this back in February. As you talk to your peers, if you have questions or other things you'd like me to dig into, please let me know that before we get to that February work session. Want to be as responsive as we can to what you would need to hear to help you make a decision.
Would you be able to give us like a little summary sheet of which towns are doing what and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I still have that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you. We'll move to your next work session. Appreciate it.
Okay, we now invite Assistant Town Manager Letney to the table to take us through our next one. And let us know if you want questions at the end or as we go.
Possibly ask you to take this seat, and we'll allow our guests just to be there at the end so you all can see them as well. Mayor, if you can sit here, and Noah and Matt, you can have either of those seats there on the end. Happy seats.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This work session is to present to you the overview of the Phase 1 report from our consultants from the Superlative Group. And just by way of background, you'll recall that in April, we came to a work session and discussed the RFP that we put out based on the sponsorship and naming rights policy that you approved earlier in the year. Got several proposals, selected the Superlative Group to be our consultant on valuation of our assets and amenities to look at sponsorship and naming right opportunities. The conversation then was to review the agreement for a three-phase proposal. So phase 1 being valuation, phases 2 and 3 being more the sales portion. Council at that point, there was consensus to go forth with phase 1 valuation and then to opt in subsequent to the report into phase 2 and 3 if you so chose to do so. So after a lot of background, a lot of work by not only staff, but our consultants, we have that overview of the phase 1 report for you this evening. So with that, I will turn it over to Erin Hudson to introduce our consultants. Erin?
Thank you, John. So I would like to introduce to you Noah Benzing, who is the Director of Analytics and Valuation, and Matt Corte, who is the Senior Vice President of Corporate Partnerships and Development, here joining us from Ohio with the Superlative Group. So just want to share with you all that this has been a very collaborative partnership with Superlative. Staff has worked to provide detail that's been requested to help them and support this valuation and assessment effort. We participated, a number of staff participated in a site visit back in the summer, really to help them gain the insight needed so that they could bring you this detailed information for you all to have for consideration tonight. So with that, I will turn it over to Noah and Matt. If you'll just press the button so that your light is red, and that way you know you're good to go. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, good evening. Thank you all for having us. Again, Matt Corte, I'm our Senior Vice President of Partnerships and Development. I think we'll just start by providing, again, a quick history of our firm so that you know who we are, and then I'll turn it over to Noah to dive in a little bit further on the process and methodology, and I know we've got a closed session meeting following this. So we've been around over 30 years, headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, and we are a foremost expert in the valuation and sales of corporate partnerships and naming rights, specific to the space that we call municipal marketing, where 80 to 85% of our client base are city, county, state, federal government agencies, transit systems, colleges and universities, and anything in between. And so with that, over the past probably 15 years or so, we've really dove into that municipal marketing space and have had the opportunity to work on projects like this across the globe, cities big and small. United States, we also have offices in Toronto and in the UK. And so we've essentially created a methodology and a process for partnerships and sponsorship that we've applied to this municipal marketing space and then adapt that, and Noah will talk about that process from the valuation perspective. But in our history, we're now pushing about $4 billion in revenue generated for our clients. Some of those clients are here locally. We've had the good fortune to work with the city of Raleigh. We did the Martin Marietta naming rights deal for the Performing Arts Center there. We also represented DPAC in presenting sponsorship with First Horizon. And we've worked with a number of other entities, including UNC Health, on some valuation work in the past. So very familiar with this market. Love the opportunity to come here and learn more about the community. So with that, I'll turn it over to Noah to go through the valuation process, and happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So we officially kicked off the phase one valuation process back in May with 3 key objectives of this process. First and foremost, to identify sponsorable assets that the town controls. So this can be through a number of different types of sponsorships. So we looked at physical infrastructure, things like parks, recreation facilities, new town developments. We also looked at town events, so large-scale events that the town hosts, and we looked at a number of different sponsorship levels across those different events. Finally, we looked at category-specific opportunities that could be had across the town as well. Second, after that identification process, we then went through a quantitative and qualitative valuation assessment to arrive at fair market valuations for each of the opportunities identified, as previously mentioned. And then finally, went through a comparative analysis where we compared the findings of our quantitative and qualitative assessment against like-minded properties across the country that we have worked on. This usually takes place across about a 4-month timeline. So as we mentioned, contract executed in May, and our official kickoff meeting took place on June the 2nd. We then went through about a month of collaborative information gathering and research in conjunction with town staff, where we collected a lot of data that then feeds into our financial models. July through August was where the bulk of the quantitative and qualitative assessment took place. As Aaron mentioned, we took a site visit, me and one of my teammates, during the July month, where we got to really see all of the offerings that you guys have, gain sort of an understanding of the flavor of Morrisville and what you guys are all about. Then we went through the development process of putting together those packages following that site visit. The quantitative and qualitative assessments then followed, and then that benchmarking process that I talked about as well. We also then took a look at some of the contracts that are in place that could have some impediments on potential sponsorships across a number of town properties as well. And then September to now is kind of just the presentation of our findings. So we put together a comprehensive valuation report, which we'll touch on in the closed session, and then incorporated a couple rounds of edits after presenting to town staff, which then leads us to this town council presentation today. This slide then takes what I just covered and goes into a little bit more detail. So in terms of that project initiation and data collection process, primarily what we were looking to uncover was historic data surrounding things like, attendance to parks, attendance to town events, attendance to facilities, understanding your social media, your website, your email databases, your physical mailing databases, all things where a potential sponsor could see exposure when sponsoring a potential property or event. In terms of developing that asset inventory of marketable assets, we first arrived at what opportunities we wanted to look at and then built out comprehensive sponsorship packages for each of those opportunities. A sponsorship package in our eyes contains a lot of things beyond just signage. So it is traditional signage, static and digital signage opportunities, but it's also exposure through things like social media, through website, through email, through activation. So being on site and actually being able to get in front of your constituents through your paid media and through earned media. So we take all of those things and package them together to arrive at the total package for each and every opportunity. Then we undertake the quantitative and qualitative assessment. So our quantitative assessment is really measuring the total, impressions or exposures that each opportunity could garner, and then measuring that against relevant media rates to arrive at those fair market valuations. Qualitative assessment, we have a qualitative rubric that we put together where we grade the town and its properties on a number of different intangible factors that then have a tangible effect on the potential valuations as well. And then finally, that's when we put together that phase 1 draft report that we'll review a little later on. Wanted to touch on the quantitative sort of methodology just a little more in depth so you can all gain a little bit of an understanding of what I'm talking about. So we quantify and utilize an impressions-based methodology. So impressions can be described as, you know, a conscious or unconscious recognition of a brand with the property that they are sponsoring. We then take those total impressions and we weight them down based on a number of different factors, knowing and understanding that not everyone that sees a sponsor on a property or an event will then recognize the associated messaging that that brand wants to have. Once we go through that process, we multiply those impressions out against relevant CPM rates, which is just cost per 1,000 impressions, and that helps us arrive at fair market valuations. So we do that for each sort of asset type that I talked about before. You know, your traditional signage, your digital and social media, your activations, and all of those types of things to arrive at individual line item valuations. And then we bundle that all together in that package to arrive at a fair market valuation for each and every opportunity. As I mentioned, we looked at over a dozen physical opportunities. We looked at a number of events. We looked at about half a dozen category-specific opportunities as well, ranging in all sorts of different values. So that sort of covers our process, our background on the project, and sort of how we go about valuing each and everything. And we'll happily take any questions.
Councilmember Rabati.
Without going into, excuse me, without going into details that we'll hear later, could you just expand on some of the things that you found to be particularly special about Morrisville, or that you think are real assets for Morrisville?
Yeah, I think definitely the town's commitment to continuous development is very important. Obviously, when we were looking at, you know, certain parks, the new dog park really stuck out as a specific example of you guys continuing to develop. I think the cricket facility is really a differentiator for you all as well. And just a number of your events, very diverse in terms of offerings as well. I think the demographics of the town are quite diverse, which is an awesome thing when brands are looking to sponsor any of these types of properties.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? No other questions? Wonderful. Well, as you are aware, we will go into some of the details following this session. And looking forward to both Matt and Noah kind of discussing that, because I know that is certainly of interest to you as well. Mayor?
Okay. At this time, we acknowledge that we have one closed session this evening to discuss an economic development matter. Thank you to everyone for watching this evening. As this is the end of our public business, I'd ask for a motion to enter closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11-A4 to discuss an economic development matter. I'd like to recognize Councilman Rao.
I said you got one by heart. You do it for me. I move to go into closed session to discuss an economic development matter.
Who's going to do this? I second the motion.
I have a motion from Councilman Rao, a second from Councilman Rabati. All those in favor of entering closed session, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries 7-0. It's 8:40. We're now in a closed session. Thank you all very much.